Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
And the cold air is back. This high pressure system helping to push in some chilly temperatures, but not for long. I'll show you when we see a warm up.
Raleigh apartment fire. People out of their homes after flames ripped through a building. The investigation this morning into what caused this. Plus, counting by hand. Today, election officials take the next step toward reaching a conclusion in an important state Senate race. The ballots being examined today and the Phil Berger Sam Page race. Hey, thanks so much for joining us at 4:30 this Tuesday morning here on WRAL News. You are a trooper for waking up this early. I'm Chris Levingood. Elizabeth Gardner is here to talk a little bit about how things are significantly cooler today, but there is a warm up that we're going to expect later in the week as well.
You know, this time of year, it's back and forth. And, you know, it's just not an even trajectory as we start to warm things up, getting closer to late spring. But in Raleigh this morning, it's all quiet. We had our cold front move through and the chilly air starting to take over. As we take a look from our WV camera down Fayetteville Street, we have a northeast wind at around 10 miles per hour and our temperature currently 44. So that's a lot cooler than it was this time yesterday. 41 South Hill, 44 in Durham, 49 in Fayetteville this morning. And our 24-hour temperature change is about 20 to almost 30 degrees cooler than this time yesterday. Our temperatures will stay chilly all the way up until almost lunchtime. We hit 51 and we're going to hold it in the upper 50s for this afternoon. But as soon as it cooled down, it's going to warm back up. I'll show you when our highs are back into the 70s again. Chris?
All right, sounds good, Elizabeth. We'll come back to you for a full forecast in a bit. We have some breaking news that we're tracking from overnight as Durham Police and Highway Patrol are investigating a crash on Ash Street. This isn't too far from I-85 and North Miami Boulevard. The WRAL breaking news tracker arrived around 2:30 this morning to find that car on its side in a driveway. We're working to learn whether anyone was hurt and whether the driver is facing charges. This morning, investigators are working to learn what caused this fire at an apartment building in Raleigh. Video sent to us by a WRAL viewer shows the fire just tearing through the Live Six Forks apartments. Let's go ahead and bring in WRAL's Carly Haynes. She is at the apartments on Chandra Drive. Carly, this fire has put people out of their homes.
Yes, and nearly 8 hours later, Chris, we're still seeing a fire truck here that's monitoring those hot spots. Part of the parking lot is blocked off, and I want to show you the damage up close to that roof. The inside has just been gutted. There are holes through the roof, and then we're also seeing some water spraying out from the top. So this is still actively being investigated. And I want to show you some viewer video from last night when those flames were shooting up through the roof. These reached nearly 2 stories high. WRAL saw the flames and smoke around 8 o'clock last night. And one apartment building was involved in the fire, but that building had about 6 units. Fortunately, the Raleigh Fire Department said nobody was hurt in this. We don't know exactly how many people were displaced, but the apartment building management is working with the Red Cross to help those without a home this morning. Now, neighbors reported hearing a boom. It's not exactly clear what caused the fire, but we also know last night was very windy, so it's possible that that wind was blowing the flames around and spreading that fire more than had it not been windy at all, Chris.
Obviously, significant damage there. Thank you for following that for us, Carly. A person has minor injuries after a stabbing on a Go Raleigh bus, and this happened at East Whitaker Mill Road and Sunrise Avenue near the 5 Points neighborhood. What you're seeing here is a photo sent to us from a viewer. Raleigh police say that a suspect has been arrested, and we're working to learn who they are and what led up to that stabbing. A plane that American operates had to return to RDU after a reported odor on board. A WRAL viewer sent us pictures and video of the plane as it returned. A spokesperson for RDU says the plane landed safely around 8:30 last night. That was not long after it took off for Philadelphia. RDU Fire and Rescue brought the passengers back to the terminal, and no one was injured at last check. The LaGuardia runway where a plane crashed into a fire truck will stay closed at least until Friday. The NTSB and FAA say they are investigating Sunday night's crash. The pilot and co-pilot of the plane were killed. Dozens of people were hurt, and law enforcement says the plane just landed from Montreal at the time of this crash. 41 passengers and crew members on that plane were taken to the hospital. New York's Port Authority says 32 of them have been released. NTSB Chairwoman Jennifer Homendy says teams are right now going through debris.
That's all evidence, and we need to document that first. Then we need to collect some of that evidence. Then we get to that. It's going to be days.
Two sources tell NBC News the air traffic controller was working two roles at the time, managing planes in the sky and planes and vehicles on the ground. But just to be clear, that's common at night when there's less air traffic. This morning, Durham police say reports of a weapon at Riverside High School are not credible. The school was on lockdown for about an hour yesterday. That happened after the school received an anonymous threat about a gun on campus. The district says the tip came in through the Say Something app. And this is actually the second time this month the school went on lockdown after reports of a weapon on campus. This morning, there are new missile strikes in Israel as we continue to cover the war in Iran. Buildings were heavily damaged and cars were burning in Tel Aviv after an Iranian missile attack. Authorities say at least 6 people were hurt. Search and rescue teams are on the ground, and this is all happening after President Donald Trump said the U.S. was holding productive talks with Tehran leadership, but Iran denied this. Now, we're also looking at how the war is affecting gas prices right here locally. For example, in Raleigh, you'll pay about $3.80 a gallon on average at gas stations. In Fayetteville, we're looking at about $3.75, and in Durham, $3.81. Just a reminder, you can find the lowest gas prices in your area with the WRAL Fuel Tracker. Just open the app and search the word fuel. Today, a new chapter begins in a race that could shape the future of the state legislature. Elections officials will count ballots by hand in the tightly contested Republican primary between Phil Berger and Sam Page. Let's bring in Kelsey Coffey. She's outside the state legislative building for that story this morning. Kelsey, there are about, 1,300 ballots to be examined in a race separated by just 23 votes.
Yes, Chris, today we're expecting to get the results of a second recount that could change the course for who is going to be in power here in the legislative building. 3 precincts will hand count some votes in the race for State Senate Leader Phil Berger's seat. Rockingham County Sheriff Sam Page leads by 23 votes in the race after an initial recount. Election officials will examine whether voters mismarked a random selection of ballots by filling in two candidates, leaving the race blank, or marking a choice, but not clearly enough for the machine to count it. Berger says there are enough of those to possibly turn the race. Now, today's recount will only include 5% of the ballots. WRAL state government reporter Caroline Yaffa explains why Berger is protesting the original election results.
About 2 things, undervotes and overvotes, meaning he's worried that people got the wrong ballot, didn't fill out ballots properly, and he wants them to double check all of them.
Now, if the results of today's recount narrows the margin by just a couple votes, Berger could request a full recount. And even if the original results still stand, this may not be the last we hear of this race because both Berger and Page have already started getting legal funds to help pay for what could be a prolonged election verification process. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
UNC men's basketball coach Hubert Davis's future with the program, it's kind of up in the air right now. Meetings between Davis and Tar Heels players planned for today, they're postponed. And this is all happening after a disappointing season for the Tar Heels, ending with a loss in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Davis succeeded Roy Williams, as you know, as UNC's head coach about 5 years ago, and he still has 4 years left on his contract. But other than a run to the NCAA title game in 2022, his tenure has been marred by mediocrity. Fans we talked to said that it's time to move on.
I think it should be coming to an end, if we're being honest. He's had all the opportunities.
He has a history of choking, 19-point lead to an inferior team. Hubert Davis, you got to go, man.
Again, heard it from students themselves. UNC says that it is evaluating the team, but it hasn't made a decision on the coach's future. Meanwhile, Duke's championship run still alive, now in the Sweet 16. The Blue Devils take on St. John's on Friday night at Capital One Arena in D.C. And yes, the WRAL sports team will be there for coverage. UNC's women's Sweet 16 matchup is officially set. The Tar Heels will be taking on the defending champion UConn Huskies. The undefeated Huskies advanced to Sweet 16 last night at a 98-45 win over Syracuse. Goodness, did they even show up? The Tar Heels will look to put a stop to that streak in Texas on Friday, and tip-off is set for 5 p.m. Happening today, NC State football is hosting its pro day. The team's top NFL prospects will get a chance to showcase themselves ahead of the NFL draft, which starts on April 23rd, and that'll be in Pittsburgh. The U.S. Senate has confirmed Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin will now lead Homeland Security. Mullin replaces former DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. President Donald Trump fired her earlier this month. Mullen's confirmation comes as ICE agents are at major airports across the country helping with the TSA staffing shortage. Democrats are demanding changes to ICE enforcement operations before voting to fund DHS. Your time this morning, 4:39. Protesting utility rate hikes. How much more residents could pay per month, and when city leaders are set to discuss possible changes in Rocky Mount. And new data centers. The town of Wendell wants your feedback. When you can attend a public hearing and what could put a stop to the town's plans.
And it's back to sweaters. It's hard to keep up, isn't it? You know, shorts and t-shirts yesterday, but our highs are only in the 50s for this afternoon. I'll show you when we start to swing the other way coming up.
From the WRAL Severe Weather Center, North Carolina's most experienced team of meteorologists.
It is 4:43, and our next weather maker is this high pressure system that's tapping into some chilly air up in Canada and pushing it right our way. So we're feeling it this morning. Our skies are nice and clear. Of course, they cleared yesterday. It was a beautiful day, a little on the breezy side, but it felt really nice. So it's clear, but it's much cooler for it today. So it's 40 in South Hill, 44 Rocky Mount, 47 in Southern Pines, and 49 in Fayetteville. And of course, temperatures aren't high, but the pollen will continue to be high. The yellow pine pollen has returned, and it is messy out there. But some of the other ones are really what causes problems for people in terms of allergies, oak, maple, birch, and that sort of thing. But boy, that pine pollen is a mess out there. Temperatures at the bus stop, we're going to be in the 30s, so the kids will be out of the bus stop in their coats again this morning. And it stays cool all day. Lunchtime, 51, and then just 57 as you're coming home from work. Temperatures begin to swing the opposite direction starting tomorrow. I'll show you when we're back in the 70s. Chris?
The roller coaster continues. Thanks, Elizabeth. Rocky Mount leaders are set to consider proposed utility rate hikes next week. And this was the scene outside Rocky Mount City Hall yesterday. People gathered to protest those hikes. And this all happened after the city announced the proposal as a way of generating revenue. The goal would be to help recover from its financial crisis. The rate hikes could be 15% more a month for some utilities. And those who gathered said they would rather leave Rocky Mount altogether than pay those higher prices.
Well, I'm a senior citizen living on a, fixed income. $1,200 doesn't go very far, and if $600 of that has to go to pay for my utilities, there's no food.
The City Council will officially consider the changes at a special meeting in a week after a public hearing. The town of Wendell has set a future meeting for discussion of data centers there. Wendell's Board of Commissioners set a public hearing for April 13th at Town Hall, and they're considering a temporary pause in construction. They say that will give them time to study how data centers could affect local infrastructure and even possibly update development rules. There aren't any current proposals yet, but this would help the town get a clearer picture before any could come in terms of having a plan in place. Today, Durham City leaders are having a community learning session, and this is to reduce violence. The session is being held at the Holton Career and Resource Center. That is tonight from 6 until 7:30. This effort is to hear feedback from people and push for strategies that will lead to less gun violence and building a safer community. FEMA is reopening canceled disaster prevention projects across the country, including, yes, right here in North Carolina. And this is happening because a federal judge ruled the agency must reinstate the funding. FEMA canceled the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant Program, or BRIC, last year. North Carolina was among 20 states that sued to get the money back. An NC emergency management spokesperson says they don't know when the program and funding will restart. But one of the projects affected was the replacement of bridges prone to flooding in Fayetteville. Mayor Mitch Colvin says other affected communities may have to make tough decisions here.
And we only have so many revenue levers to pull. One is raise taxes, which this is a terrible time to do that to anyone. It still ends up back on the back of the local taxpayers who can't afford it right now, quite honestly.
Now, as part of the ruling, FEMA has to update states on the status of all BRIC projects by the middle of this month and is also required to open up new grant applications by this Friday, March 27th. Apple is rolling out a new security feature that will kind of work behind the scenes for your phone. It's called Background Security Improvements. Basically, it delivers small fixes without waiting for full updates. It would target systems such as Safari, system libraries, and Apple's WebKit engine, and that includes Apple's Mail and App Store apps. The new security feature can be turned off in settings. Pollen was a big problem the other day. Look at this right here. Yellow cars, yellow pavement, no matter what it was yellow. And what you're seeing here, oof, the WRAL parking lot. A lot of people are already feeling it with sneezing, itching, watery eyes, just gross. Elizabeth, I walked out and looked at my car. It had pollen on it, and I said, maybe I should get it washed. But then I remembered, pollen season ain't over just yet.
Oh no, it lasts for weeks, and so it is here to stay. It was really over the weekend. Temperatures, had been warm on and off, but I think that was just something about it this weekend triggered that yellow pine pollen, and it is messy. And yeah, don't bother washing your car for at least a couple of weeks. We will see some nice up and down temperatures, so it's chilly today, but we're warmer by the time we get to the end of the week, and then over the weekend another cold front comes through. So boom, 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 up and down. This is a live look at downtown Raleigh. It's a little breezy out there this morning. Right now, our winds are northeast at 10. We have some gusts up to 20, 25 in some places. It's 44 degrees, so it's definitely a lot cooler than it was this time yesterday. We're gusting to 28 in Fayetteville right now, 24 in Rocky Mount, and 16 there in Southern Pine. So again, it remains a little breezy. The wind picked up yesterday, and we're going to see winds mostly gusting to about 15 to 20 as we head through the afternoon, which is not terribly strong. Our temperatures are chilly. It's 46 in Durham, 46 in Apex, 45 in Garner and in Knightdale this morning. And we take a look at our temperatures cooler and warmer than normal. We're cooler than normal, obviously, here along the East Coast, signified in the blue shaded areas, and then warmer than normal back out to the west. And a little later on this morning, meteorologist Chris Michaels is going to talk more about the heat out west and if we're going to end up seeing it. We do see some warmer temperatures toward the end of the week, but that's just a typical warm up, and it's not going to stick around for long. Friday temperatures are above normal, but then Saturday's front comes through and boom, there it is, the chilly air again. And the ups and downs of the temperature are normal this time of year. It's sort of a battle between the cold and the warm as we go from winter to summer, and we kind of get caught in the middle with the ups and downs. 57 in Raleigh, 56 Durham, and 58 in Fayetteville for it today. And we do have a couple of nights to watch out for. For Thursday morning, we're looking at 36 degrees, and Monday morning, 35 degrees. And we typically see the average last first frost up in our northern counties between April 15th and April 22nd. Around the Triangle, it's April 1st to April 8th, and our southern counties March 25th to April 1st. So we're getting close to seeing some of those last potential frosts. Big up and down with our temperatures. 65 is our normal, 57 today. We go to 86 on Friday, and that's not far from a record. As a matter of fact, the record's 87 for both Raleigh and Fayetteville on Friday. After Friday, we're going to see much cooler temperatures. We cool off for the weekend, so we're back to sweater weather, but it does look nice and bright, Chris.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Your time this morning is 4:50, called A Blast from the Past. The new music tour hitting the road and one iconic film making a comeback. Plus, new funding, how the Department of Energy is working with one local university to create opportunities for high school students. Good morning to our friends in Andrew this morning. It's calm, it's quiet, but it's cooler than we saw yesterday, though some warmer days are still coming our way. We have your full weather forecast coming up again here on WRAL News as you're joining us at 4:54 this morning. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office is warning people about a scam robbery happening on Facebook Marketplace. Let me walk you through it. It's happening in the Everett Acres area of Lake Upchurch Drive in Parkton. Detectives received reports of a person advertising air conditioning units for sale. Well, when buyers meet up, the suspect approaches the victim with a gun and demands payment. As of now, up to $6,600 has been stolen. If you have any information or know anyone who could have been targeted, you can contact the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office. Today, the town of Garner is hosting a workshop about improving transportation. The workshop will be held at the Garner Recreation Center on West Main Street. This is happening from 3 to 7 p.m., and there will be an update on future transportation improvements, such as work on roads, sidewalks, bike lanes, and public transit. NC State is getting funding from the Department of Energy's Office of Nuclear Energy, and the goal is to create short courses for high school students and educators too. The courses will focus on learning how to use a nuclear reactor. It's an effort to stimulate interest in the growing field. The university will receive up to $200,000 to expand the work that the engineering school has been doing for the last 25 years. If you didn't know, NC State is one of the only institutions in the country with its own nuclear reactor. Today's entertainment news is filled with blasts from the past, including a powerhouse music tour and the return of an iconic film. Here's David Daniel with our Hollywood Minute.
I need this job. I can't lose it. I do not want to go back.
The Housemaid sequel is going ahead. Sydney Sweeney is set to return for The Housemaid's Secret alongside Oscar nominee Kirsten Dunst. Lionsgate says the film will have Sweeney's Millie taking a job with a woman she's never allowed to see. TLC, Salt and Peppa, and En Vogue are teaming for the It's Iconic Tour. The 36-city tour launches August 15th in Franklin, Tennessee. Ticket pre-sale begins Tuesday.
Oh, man. Wait to hear this. Wait to hear this. What is it, man? You guys want to go see a dead body?
Stand By Me has been remastered for its 40th anniversary. The Rob Reiner coming-of-age classic, based on the Stephen King novella, returns to theaters for 1 week beginning Friday. Settling in with my popcorn in Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Your time is 4:56 this morning. Shaping future elections. What election officials are doing today that could set a new standard for future races too close to call. And fire under investigation. The fire caught on camera and how this isn't the first fire for this Raleigh apartment complex. Plus, airport runway closed. The deadly collision still under investigation. And what New York's mayor is saying this morning.